Greetings everybody! Welcome to another episode of Hard Talk HR. I'm your host, Mihai Nagy. My guest today will be Charles Bendotti. Charles is a Senior Vice President of People and Culture at Philip Morris International. Before taking on a quest to become an HR leader, Charles fulfilled several senior commercial roles in the organization, including CEO and Managing Director. Charles and I sat down at the 2019 HR Congress in Nice to talk about some exciting topics, among those inclusion and diversity and gender equality at the workplace. Charles has 2 and I have 3 daughters, so we feel very strongly about this important topic of achieving gender balance, not just at work, but also in a greater society. We also talked about an issue which we both hoped should not be an issue by now, but for some reason it is still a talking point. That is, it's time for HR not just to have a seat at the table, but potentially own the table and be a true source of value to the organization, and that comes with changing the mindset first. So I hope you will enjoy the following conversation, and if you do like what you see, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and visit the HR Congress podcast pages on Spreaker and Spotify. Hard Talk HR, we bring you fresh ideas and inspiring content from around the world of work. Hello everybody, welcome to Nice, welcome to the HR Congress. I'm so happy to be here with you at the 2019 HR Congress in the beautiful city of Nice, and absolutely fortunate to have the opportunity to speak with an amazing person, Charles Bendotti. Charles is the Senior Vice President of Culture and People at Philip Morris International, and the company is going through a massive transformation. In fact, it's the biggest transformation in the history of the organization. But I'm particularly happy to speak with Charles because he is an HR professional who was initially a commercial professional, a long-standing career in marketing, and even was a CEO of an organization. And then he took the helm, becoming the CHRO. So, Charles, I'm so glad to have you here with us today.
Very happy to be here in my home country.
And the first question I want to speak about, and I think it's a very important talking point for HR leaders around the world, everybody's watching this interview, is that tell me about you, Charles Bendotti, your career, on a very strong commercial background. How did you become the head of HR, and how was your initial reaction when you were asked to become a CHRO?
Okay. So I think the first is I never had any career plan in all my life. Okay, I always followed the wind, and when I say the wind is my gut feelings. Okay, so that's very important. Still today, I have no plan for what will happen tomorrow, in 5 years, and in 10 years, and I don't care. I want to live in the present. I want to be alive. Okay, so that I think it's important we start with that. It has been a succession of events. Let's put it this way. First, I never studied even business. So don't talk about HR. I never studied business. I studied political science and international relations. I thought I could change the world and working for the UN and all of this. So when I finish my master, the first question is, okay, it will be very difficult to change the world. So maybe it's better to start within the workplace, make a small impact, and maybe we can have a bigger one. Okay, and that was always my motto. And I hope we'll have the opportunity to talk about diversity and inclusion, or inclusion and diversity, because this is the same mindset. This is the same philosophy. So no career plan, but very strong convictions and very strong values on what could be my impact or our impact within society. So that has been the motto. So when I finished studying, I joined a consulting firm, and with all respect with consulting, when you don't know much about the business, it's perfect to learn. So I did that for 2 years. And after 2 years, I realized that I was selling, or the company for which I was working, a great company by the way, they were selling me and very expensively every single day, and I didn't have much content. Let's be honest about it. I didn't have much content, business content. So Philip Morris proposed me to join them for 3 years and say, well, we'll give you the full training. You will do marketing, you will do sales, you will do finance, and if you're successful every single year, you will move on and one day we'll send you outside. So I did that for 3 years. Then I was sent to Egypt as marketing director. Then I was sent to a very tiny island for Reunion Island as my first CEO job for Indian Ocean Island in East Africa. And then the question I had is, okay, I have better business knowledge, but I miss something which is big, which is business development, merger and acquisition, which for me is the brain of an organization. So that way you decide where you want the organization to play in the next 5, 10, and 20 years. So I moved to business development, merger and acquisition for a couple of years in New York. Then I was sent to Ecuador as managing director or CEO for Ecuador and Bolivia. Mm-hmm. And then I received this call from my boss, who was Mirek Zielinski. The name is very important because it changed my life. He was the regional president of Latin America and Canada. And he really asked me this question. He said, well, the VP of HR for the region is retiring, and I would like you to consider the job. Well, let's be honest, it was not a question, okay? It was a statement. And my first question is, why me? Why? And his answer was very interesting. He told me, well, there's 3 things that you really need to know. Why you? Because you have no HR background, but you're absolutely passionate about organization. You are one of the few person, now it has changed, but that understand if you have the right organization, everything else will be right. Okay, you have the right cash, you will have the right brands, you will have the right distribution model, everything will be right. And that's probably the reason why he called me, because he knew that my first strategy was always about the organization, and then the business will come after. Mm-hmm. Because, okay, so that was, then he asked me to move to Asia. And I said, okay, fine, I got that, but what's in it for me? You know, I mean, it's win-win.
So did you consider that time it was not a career-enhancing move, becoming a CHRO, but rather the other way, when you received this question first?
Yeah, so that's why I asked him, what's in it for me? Because that's what I wanted to understand. Is it an opportunity for him to fix an issue, which is fine, okay? But is it as well something for him in order to develop me for the next level? And he came with, Mirek came with 2 amazing answers to that question. He told me the first one, he said, Charles, you have been driving and getting results by being on the front line. Okay, when you're the CEO of an organization, you drive the entire organization and you push them, okay? So you have direct impact on it. He said, what you need to learn, I was 35 at the time, and with the reputation of being time to time very pushy and, you know, sometimes, yes, maybe bully time to time on how to get results. He told me, you will learn in HR, you will learn how to get results through others. And never forget, a CEO always gets results through others. Mm-hmm. He said, that's what you will learn in HR. So go for a couple of years and get that skill. Get that skill right, because this is the most important skill that you will need to grow within the organization and in 5, 10, 20 years' time. So that's very interesting. The second thing he told me, he said, you know, Charles, what matters is it's not how you get to the top. It's to get to the top. And it's not, and here I'm not talking about referring to getting to the top for the ego or the title, is being within the room where key decisions will be made for your organization. He said, it doesn't matter if you come from finance, from HR, from line, from marketing, what's matter is to be around this table. When you're around the table, then you will decide what you want to do with that. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you want to only talk about HR, then you keep your space very small. If you want to talk about everything, you can talk about everything. It's you to shape how you want your role mm-hmm. to be. And I think that was very interesting. Having said that, my first reaction when, you know, despite all these good reasons why to move to HR, my first question was, what did I do wrong in my life? I mean, what are you coming to me on this one? 10 years after, honestly, I think that was the best decision I took in my life. It was absolutely the best decision. I'm a different professional, and I would say I'm a different human being today by having spent 10 years in HR.
Wonderful.
No doubt about it.
Wonderful. So does this mean that before your time, the HR was in a way isolated a little bit from business in Philip Morris, and it was your job to merge it, bring the two functions together? Because after all, there is no HR in business, it's only business, right?
Yeah.
And HR is...
Well, I can answer yes to that. I mean, that one of the main reasons why they asked me, which I think PMI was 10 years ago, I mean, was probably one of the first companies to move someone from line to HR. Now it's very trendy, you see it a lot. But 10 years ago, We were one of the first companies to do it.
So how has it helped shaping the relationship of HR and business function? How has it helped shaping the overall culture of the business?
Okay, so yes, they asked me to move because they wanted to have a business view within the functions, okay, and move away from processes, and bring the business at the center of what we did. Now we have to be very careful about it. I don't think you need to have a line experience to understand business. It's a mindset. It's you to define if you want to understand it or not. I mean, you have many functional leaders in finance that never were managing director or CEO, but they have the credibility of understanding the business. So HR is exactly the same. It's all about a mindset. It's your shop. So how much you want to understand the business, how much you want your function to have an impact on the business. I mean, this is your personal call. I mean, no one will give you authorization to do it. And you know, there's a point in time where HR has to stop asking for permission and just take accountability. And that's what I do. I never ask for permission. I take it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, in any case, they will move it back somewhere else. So for me, HR, it's not a function which is specific vis-a-vis other functions. It's a business function within an organization to deliver business results.
Your story actually confirms that the number one chief talent officer in organization actually is the CEO. And every research confirms that PwC or Korn Ferry or anyone refers to that talent and culture ranks among the top priorities for a CEO's agenda. Yet I see many papers published in Harvard Business Review and wherever about can CHRO become a CEO. We don't see this, can Chief Marketing Officer become a CEO. We don't see that can a Chief Financial Officer become a CEO, but we see it about HR. You are a CHRO. Why do you think is this? And can a CHRO become a CEO?
Yes, absolutely. 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 I mean, a CHRO or any person in HR is managing one of the most important assets of an organization, which is people. Okay? When you have people, you will have cash, you will have brands, you will have it all. So and this is probably the most complex asset to manage because it's emotional, it's subjective, it's human beings. Okay? It's much easier to manage cash. I mean, it's very simple. I mean, you know, it's black or white. You know, either you do good investment or you do bad investment. People are much more complex. So if you can manage the most complex assets, there is no reason why you cannot manage the entire organization. So I'm absolutely convinced about it. Having said that, I don't think this is the key issue. It's not about can. The question is, do they want? I think that's the question we need to frame. Okay? Can everybody can? If you want to learn, all of us can. I mean, yesterday we have a wonderful example, wonderful guest speaker that shows that everything is achievable in life if you want to achieve it. Okay? So I think we need to move away from can to want. Do HR professionals want to one day lead an organization? Do they want to do that? Okay? And if the answer is yes, so it's possible. Now, I'm not sure, and I may be wrong, I'm not sure that many people within HR or CHRO want to do that. I'm not sure they want to do it. And that's the question they need to frame. Do they want to do it? Because yes, they can.
So it's not a question of can, it's more about the want. And if you want, then what are the capabilities and skills you must have or gain along the way eventually to be ready for the role?
Very interesting. I mean, I'm sure you invited me because you know I'm pretty provocative with my thinking.
Absolutely, I did.
So for me, I would say it's not capabilities. Yes, it's capabilities, it's skills, but much more than this is a mindset. You know, do you own the table? Is it your table, or or do you want to have a seat at the table? It's all about the mindset. It's about you projecting yourself in that role. And what will be your contribution if you will be in that role? How that will feel different for the organization? What will be better? What will be probably less good as well? I mean, you know, there's always plus and minus about it. And when you have this clear picture, if you really want to do it, okay, you just need to surround yourself with people that will help you to do it. So the same when I moved to HR. When I moved to HR, my knowledge of HR was zero. Okay, and I just refused to work for a function without understanding the function. It's lack of respect for people within that function. So I invest myself a lot with David Ulrich, RBL, to really understand the function. The same happened for a CHRO that will move to CEO. He will have knowledge, he will have a knowledge gap. But just take the best marketing person in the world, take the best salesperson in the world, take the best CFO in the world, build a team around you, manage this team, give them space to deliver, trust them, and they will do it. I mean, CEO is nothing else than leadership. It's the highest level of leadership. But this is all about leadership. It's not about technical knowledge. It's about providing direction, allocating resources, know where you stand, and build the organization. And everybody can do it if they want to do it.
Wonderful insight. Thank you for that. Now, I want to ask about you. The next topic is diversity and inclusion. I know that you are very passionate about the subject. I have 3 daughters on my. You have 2 daughters and a son. So, equal payment, inclusion, diversity ranks really high on your agenda. Tell me about that a little bit.
Okay, but then I need to go back to my inner values and personal motivation.
Right.
So yes, there are 2. The first one is my daughters. I have 2 daughters, 1 son. And to make it simple, I just refuse that my daughter will be treated differently because they're women. It just doesn't work. This world, this society does not work for me. Okay. The second one is I have to go back to my father here. But it's important. Without making the story long, but mainly my father came from an Italian family that migrated to France between the First World War and the Second World War. And as you know, the Italians were on the wrong side of history during the Second World War. They were with the German and not with the French. So you may imagine what that means to be an Italian kid in the French village after the Second World War. That was not the right place to be. And what my father taught my sister and I was the following. You will never do to others what they did to me. You will never do to others what they did to me. So this is my motto in life. That's why I'm so passionate about diversity and inclusion, or inclusion and diversity. We are all human beings. We need to treat each of us in exactly the same manner, with the same respect, with the same values. There's only one human race, and we're all equal on this one. So this is my fundamental values in life.
And while in the common terminology is diversity and inclusion, you have changed it. You use inclusion, diversity. Why is that so?
So that's because diversity, it's a mean. Inclusion is the end. So diversity is about creating a mix. It's pretty simple. If you have the motivation to do it, you have to find talented people. Sometimes it's difficult, but it's not rocket science. If you want to have more women in your workplace, more male, more people from Africa, more people from Asia or Latin America, it's easy. Okay, it's a question of motivation and resources. The challenge is when you have this diversity, when you have this mix, how you make the mix work together, that inclusion. This is the end. Okay, because having diversity without inclusion, it's useless. So that's why we decided to move with my team the end before the means. So we put inclusion, because that's what we want, with diversity, because that's what we need in order to get to the inclusion. And I think it's probably a motto for me in my life, and probably from HR. I think sometimes we always, or too often, not always, but too often we put the means before the end. And I think it's very important that we always remember what's matter is the end and not the means. And when I see all this development today in HR, artificial intelligence and all of this, they're only means, they're not the end. We should never forget what is the end on this one. So that's why we decided to move the name of the sub-function.
Wonderful, wonderful story. Last question I meant to ask about digitalization disrupting every industries, every organization, left, right, center. Philip Morris is not different.
No.
You are a tobacco company becoming a science and tech company in a way. How does it impact your people, your talent pool, your culture? How do you ensure that your current best performers become digitally, in a way, savvy and embrace this change? And how do you ensure that the future you find the right culture, build the right culture around this change, massive change?
Oh, I think you're putting your finger on something which is absolutely crucial, and I'm not sure I have the answers. I can share with you where we stand, where I stand. And actually the question, I will reverse the question, the same as the CEO vis-a-vis the CHRO, is not what do an organization needs to do for me, it's what do I need to do for myself in order to stay relevant. So yes, I have accountability and responsibility vis-à-vis the organization to make sure that we train people and we provide them the knowledge they need to be performant. But at the end, this is our own accountability. It's my own accountability to remain relevant. And for too long we are trying to develop career ladders where you say you need that skill to move up and up and up. I think the world will change completely. It's not about what skill you need to go from A to B horizontally, it's what skill you need to go from C to D vertically. Because people like me who have been working for 20 years for the same company, this is over. People will work not only for different companies, but they will work for different sectors and industries. So you need to help people to move laterally. That's the way you can ensure permanent employability vis-a-vis compared to lifetime employment. And that's what we need to change. So yes, we provide training, but I really rely on people to do the extra effort to go and learn on this one. So one of the things we do at PMI today, we're hiring a lot of people from the outside because we have a massive skill gap vis-a-vis.
But are you competing talent now in a different market that you are transforming to more of a science and tech-based company than from a traditional FMCG tobacco company? Do you find you competing for a different set of talent pool? Is this something you?
Well, yes. We need to fish in new talent pools.
Right.
Okay, let's put it this way. I mean, there's, in terms of digital, in terms of science, in terms of retail, those skills that we didn't have because we didn't needed them in the past. So now we need them. So yes, you're fishing in different talent pools. Are they different in terms of recruitment than traditional functions? No, they're all the same. It's what is your purpose, what is your value propositions, what is in it for the person, for the employee, what's in it for the organization. So it doesn't change much in terms of recruitment. It may change much more in terms of retention. That's the difference. I mean, someone in digital today, if the person spends 2 or 3 years in the same company, may lose some skills. I mean, when I talk with digital people, they tell me, Charles, I love Philip Morris, but I may need to move in 2 or 3 years' time and maybe one day to come back because I need to keep my skill relevant. And if I stay within the same silos, within the same organization for too long, I may lose that edge. Okay, so we need to find different proposals and propositions how to keep those people working for us. And maybe permanent contract is maybe not the solution. I would be very happy to consider share contract with different companies. Someone can work for PMI. Obviously, they cannot work for our competitors, but I would have no issue of someone working 50% for PMI, 50% for Unilever, 50% for Apple. I mean, we need to rethink the world completely. I mean, we don't need to own it all. I mean, the urbanization that is going on in society, where you share your assets for your car, for your house, with Uber and maybe one day we'll go to the same. Maybe one day I will be the CHRO for Philip Morris and I can be something else for a different company at the same time. And that can work perfectly well. I think it's time to really think very, very differently on this one.
You have much more flexibility and more fluidity.
I mean, we just need to reflect what the world is today. If you have kids, you have three. I mean, they do thousands of tasks at the same time. So why you want them to do only one task when they enter the workforce? Why you want them to only work for one company? I mean, they can work for more than one company. They can do much more than one. And we just need to adapt to these new ways of thinking and doing.
Wonderful. So Charles, one last question. You're a very busy man, yet you decided to come and join the HR Congress and spend 2 full days with us, and I'm very grateful for that. What was it in for you? You asked your CEO what is in for you. So I'm asking you, what was it in for you? What are you taking away from the HR Congress?
I have to say it's not to please you. I don't come very often to all those events, and it has been outstanding. I mean, the quality of the conversation, okay, I'm not talking about the quality of the building. I'm talking about the quality of the conversation, the quality of the speakers, the quality of the participants, the curiosity on what HR needs to be, or what HR could be. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And I will be back if you invite me again on this one. I have two massive learning, or 3 massive learning, I would say. The first one is always in my mind for 10 years, and I'm not sure I haven't found the answer this week, but I'm always, there's something I don't understand, is why HR every single year need to justify why we do exist. There is no one function in the world that will have this type of event of what is the next of finance, what is the next of marketing. I mean, this is this permanent question of why do we exist? I mean, guys, we don't need to justify why you do exist. We are managing the most important asset of an organization, i.e. people. This is point. You are managing the most important asset of an organization. You don't need to justify why we do exist. Okay, that's point one. The second one, which I found, and I see a lot of new trends coming, a lot of technology, artificial intelligence, big data. But there's one word which I haven't heard enough over the last 48 hours, is the word consumer. The world is changing. Consumer at the center of the new world. I mean, I would even go one step further. Consumer are defining what is democracy of tomorrow. And you can see it, what's going on in the world on this one. And this word consumer is still not very much within the mouth of the HR professional, okay? And it's really from within, okay? And I think it's time to realize that we only exist to serve consumer. And as long as you don't put the consumer at the center of what we do internally, it won't work. So that's one of my learning is I need to reinforce this message that our consumer from an HR are not only our people, our consumer are really consumer that buy our products. The third one is I realized that I did a mistake actually, and I love it because for too long I've defined a consumer for HR as being people, because that's my consumer. And I've been driving my HR function say, guys, we need to be consumer centric, so that means we need to be people centric. Actually, and this morning with David Ulrich, we had this conversation, and I think we came to the same conclusion. It's not about what's going on inside, it's what's going on outside. If you go one step further, if you think about performance management, should we really ask feedback from within, or should we only ask feedback from our consumers? What really matters? If you think about value creation, is it what my boss, Andre, the CEO of PMI, think about me, or is it what my consumer or our consumer think about my work? Do I provide the right experience at the point of sales? Okay, is my boss, the CEO, in the best position to define this, or is it the consumer that interacts with the people at point of sale that can provide me feedback on how good is my performance or not? So, conclusion is, let's always have consumer at the center of what we do. It's outside in, it's not in outside. And define consumer not only as your employee, but as really a real consumer from the outside. That's my key learnings.
Charles, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And yeah, I hope to learn even more as we progress along.
Thank you very much.